I got a Bible in my home. I got a Bible in my home. If I don't read, my soul be lost. Yeah. My sister taught me how to read. Sister taught me how to read. If I don't read, my soul be lost. And nobody's fault but mine. Oh, there's nobody's fault but mine. Nobody's fault but mine. If I don't read, my soul be lost. And oh, I said, I got a Bible of my own. I got a Bible of my own. If I don't read, my soul be lost. Yes. Oh, my daddy taught me to read. My daddy taught me to read. If I don't read, my soul be lost. And nobody's fault but mine. Oh. Nobody's fault but mine. Nobody's fault but mine. If I don't pray, my soul be lost. And nobody's fault but mine. My mama taught me to pray. Said my mama taught me to pray. If I don't pray, my soul be lost. Yeah. Said if I don't pray, my soul be lost. Yeah. Oh, I said if I don't pray, my soul be lost. Yeah. Nobody's fault but mine, yeah.
Don't make me mad, boy. Don't make me angry. I'll bust you in two, boy. If it tickles my fancy, I can be mean, boy. So don't get me riled up. Don't make me angry. Don't make me mad. Don't make me hostile. I get excited. Stay away from that lady. That's my ring on your finger. I can be mean, boy.
Hello, Pam.
Hi, Huma.
So while we're waiting the others to join us, I think maybe I can just start with my quick intro while we're having. Hi, Don. So I just wanted to welcome as TBS to the Corona Blues, a mental health and wellness workshop. We're here today with the workshop's moderator and host Pam Beatson and guest speakers Dan McKinnon, Dr. John Chong, Don Tyler Watson, Sean Pinchin, and Sarah Hagerman. We will start with an hour of workshop and then we will have 30 minutes for your questions. So just a quick housekeeping. If you're registered and watching us on Zoom, you can just drop your questions on the Q&A box or the chat box, whichever you're comfortable with. Or if you're watching on TBS Facebook page on live stream, you can just comment below so that we can see them, and we will check and try to cover everything today. I would also like to mention our book giveaway. So we will be giving 2 copies of the Blues Therapy book by Anita Schlenk and Tab Benoit to 2 attendees actually tonight. So just like our live stream on Facebook and comment below saying Blues Therapy. Or for Zoom attendees, you can just comment on the chat box to enter this draw. We will announce the winners after the event, and we will contact directly through DM or via your email address if you're registered on Zoom. So just before starting again, I just wanted to acknowledge our year-round supporters, Toronto Arts Council, Ontario Arts Council, and Government of Canada. and would like to remind all of you who are watching this live stream tonight that TBS is a not-for-profit charity celebrating 35 years. And if you would like to support us, you can easily donate by visiting our website, which is torontoBlueSociety.com. And all donations are tax deductible, and every penny counts. And on that note, I would like to leave the spot to Pam to start this workshop.
Thank you, Huma. Hello and welcome everybody to the Corona Blues webinar. My name is Pam Beatson and I'll be the moderator for this event. I'd like to start by thanking the Toronto Blues Society and Huma for their work in sponsoring and organizing this event, and a special thanks to the Musicians Advisory Council for coming up with this idea and organizing and inviting me to participate. Over this course of this workshop, you'll be presented with professional research, strategies, tips, resources, and personal stories. All of the speakers you will hear are musicians themselves. Following the formal presentation, as Huma said, there will be a Q&A session, and we welcome your questions and comments, anything that you may have to contribute to this very important conversation. There will also be a list of resources posted at the end of the webinar and on the TBS website. We've been especially mindful in providing low-cost and no-cost options as sources for help wherever possible. Well, we are living in unprecedented times. You know, coping with this pandemic, it affects us all really deeply, some of us more than others. We often feel its effects intermittently, having good days and bad days. There's the anxiety of the contagion. There's the frustrations of restrictions on our movement and on our behavior. The limitations on human contact and on touch. And of course, the economic hardships. And behind all of it is this unrelentless uncertainty. And it's like a constant background noise that never goes away. For you musicians, there are specific challenges. For example, there are not as many opportunities for creative expression or for that synergistic energy that you get from playing together with a band or performing for an audience that makes you feel connected to the human race. And this may be affecting your mood, your energy, your self-esteem, even your sense of identity. Many of us are encountering difficulties such as sleeping problems, appetite issues, daytime fatigue, lack of motivation, not eating properly, or having a craving for sweets. Some may be over drinking, or feeling some unexpected sadness, or feeling overwhelmed. Then these are all common experiences during these times. So what can we do about it? Sometimes just maintaining a few basic practices makes a big difference. Think of ourselves as energetic beings. We are constantly burning energy and refueling it. And most of the time, we don't have to think about this too much. You know, it's an automatic process and it's a pretty good system. We sleep, we eat, we drink water, and we re-energize ourselves. But what happens when we use more energy than we have time to recharge? Well, this is what happens when we experience trauma, chronic illness, or sustained stress. Like now, we don't have enough time to recharge the energy before using more, and our batteries become drained. You know, we use expressions like, I'm running on empty, I'm running on fumes, or I got nothing left. We have no energy left, and we don't have time to fill it back up. So we get run down. We get grouchy, distracted, easily frustrated, fatigued, depressed. And we're more susceptible to viruses and illnesses, more vulnerable to injury. The pandemic and all that goes with it, it's a drain on our energy. So because of this, we need to be more mindful about refueling our energy reserves. And there are just some very basic ways that we can be mindful about doing that. The first is sleeping. And yeah, we can't control whether we sleep or not. And many of us are having that problem right now, including me. But we can control what we do about our sleep hygiene. So, some recommended things to do are have a regular sleeping schedule. Have a routine that you do before you go to bed that helps you to, relax and drift into the next phase. Take a warm bath, read a book. Try not to watch screens in the last couple hours before you go to bed. It's also helpful to not eat in the last couple hours before you go to bed. Maybe have a cup of herbal tea, but be mindful about what you're doing in order to maximize your sleep. I would also suggest watching your caffeine intake. Some people can drink multiple cups of coffee in a day. I'm not one of them, but even if you are, it may be a good idea to limit the caffeine to early in the day, just to help give yourself a boost when you go to sleep at night. Watch little comfort things like what's the temperature in your bedroom? Window open or closed? Have you got the right bedding, the right pillow? Make everything as positive as you can for that sleep experience. Some people are having good effects with CBD oil as an aid for sleeping. I find magnesium is helpful taken at bedtime. So, do some research into different sleep aids that might be helpful. Second, easy thing to address is eating. The quality of the fuel that we put in our bodies is going to affect the quality of the energy that we have to spend. So, junk food drains our energy. Fresh, unprocessed food gives us energy. Try to eat as many things in the quality zone as possible. Try to limit your, going over to the drain zone as much as you can. Drink lots of fresh water and take some deep breaths. A lot of the time we don't think about our breathing and we're only breathing very shallowly into the very tops of our lungs. It doesn't oxygenate our blood cells. So be conscious throughout the day of just taking in some deep breaths, oxygenate those blood cells, and also give yourself a little bit of a break, a little bit of a relaxation. Other ways to recharge, there's lots of them, and you know yourself what works for you. Relaxation, getting in touch with nature, taking a walk in the woods. I understand there's been a real increase in walking in the woods since the pandemic hit. If you have an animal, if you have a pet, spend more time with your pet. There's lots of evidence that shows it actually has a physical positive effect on our health by just petting your dog. Talk to a friend. Do something creative. Get some physical touch. And listen, you people who live alone, you don't have to be completely without touch. This may sound odd, but you can touch yourself. Give yourself a bit of a hug. Just even hold your own hand. Touch your face. We're humans, we need touch. And when it's not readily available, sometimes we have to give it to ourselves. Listen to music. Do whatever brings you joy. And that'll help to recharge your energy, give you the boost that you need as a first aid method to get through this right now. And what about social media? Okay, so social media, it's got the potential to be a really positive thing because, it's a form of connection. It's a way to see some funny stories or laugh with a friend or stay in touch with what your friends are up to. But it's also a massive drain on our energy because there's so much arguing, negativity, and just the volume of bad news on social media. So my suggestion is limit your exposure to social media. Maybe set yourself a little schedule. And actually, setting a schedule is a good idea for this whole thing. The best way to make a schedule is have something flexible. It's not rigid, you can change it as whenever you like. Make it realistic. So, your goal isn't to write your first novel over the next few months, but maybe do some writing if you feel like it. But the most important thing about making a schedule is to vary the energy throughout the day. So if you're sitting for a while in front of a computer working, the next thing you do should be something with movement, maybe some yoga, get outside, some fresh air. If you're inside for a few hours, go outside. If you're doing something very active, then do something very quiet and relaxing. And just try to keep that in mind throughout your day of mixing up your energy so that you are energized and you're maintaining. Energy needs to flow. And if we're just doing one thing, we get very static and very blocked. And you'll notice, no matter what that thing is, at the end of the day, you're tired and you feel no motivation. And it feels like, what did I even do today? So try to mix up the energy with different things, and that'll help a lot. Okay, let's go to our first speaker. Our first speaker tonight is Dan McKinnon. He's a Toronto-based rock blues guitarist and blues artist on the rise. Dan, take it away.
Well, thank you, Pam. Excuse me. It's great being here, sharing this webinar with you, Sean, Don, and Tyler Watson, Dr. Chong, and Sarah. This is a mental health it's a topic that's of importance to me. Just to kind of give you some background, and for the people here, is ever since I would say my early 20s, I've struggled with my own mental health, depression, and anxiety up and down throughout a number of years. But it was about a year ago, around last fall, where I was hit by what my therapist called a spiritual Mack truck, where about 30 years of history just kind of hit me in the face. And, really, I was confronted with a number of issues, and that really hit me hard in a big way. And my go-to with processing and dealing with, my energy has always been to reach for the guitar and to channel my energy into my music. And when COVID hit, I actually remember the last gig I played out in St. Catharines with the Mighty Duck Blues Band. And it was 7 months ago. And I remember out in St. Catharines, and there was talk that, the casinos are going to be closed for a couple weeks. And then after that, things will probably resume. Well, we all know what kind of happened with that. And, without having that outlet to go out and play music and to be amongst the community of people, it made the mental health issues that I was already dealing with magnified times about 100. Mm. And not having the outlet to play, not being around other people, and dealing with the uncertainty of not knowing when it will resume, or what live music is going to look like when our new normal becomes normal again. That was all very, very hard. But 7 months in now, played my first gig back on this past weekend, and I'm happy to say that I have found comfort in a new daily routine. And I would certainly say that if I were to look at where I was, say, a year ago to now, I would certainly say certain conditions, like not being able to play music, or not being able to release new music or play gigs, that obviously is something I can't control right now. But the things that I can control, my mental health, my daily routine, has just been worlds better. And I've found new ways of dealing with problems, and new ways of managing things that I've dealt with. And, the way that I approached it was actually very similar to how I approached playing music. Like when you play guitar, you play keyboard, saxophone, drums, whatever. You have to practice. You put your 10,000 hours in. And I just thought I was going to start to put my 10,000 hours of mental health work in. And what I found to be actually invaluable is using the social media for the powers of good. And, I like to use the analogy of a scalpel. A scalpel in the hands of, say, a gang member can do incredible damage in a fight. But that same scalpel in the hands of a trained surgeon can save lives. And I've been able to discover a lot of ways where you can access support on social media that's absolutely free to help better manage your mental health. So just as an example, with some of the issues that I've had to deal with, I found incredible support just interacting with anonymous groups on Facebook. Like, you could go to my Facebook page right now and go into my, what groups I belong to or my various likes, and you wouldn't be able to see if I deal with, depression, anxiety, whatever it is. But there are a variety of groups where you are able to speak with other people from around the world and share what you're dealing with, and have other people that you can connect with that may be experiencing some of the same problems. And I think one of the things that I've learned in dealing with my own mental health issues is that sometimes, and this is of course compounded because of COVID, is that you sometimes think that you're the only person dealing with this. Like you're dealing with a problem all by yourself. But in reality, there are so many other people that are often going through the same things that you're going through. And to have those groups available have been just a godsend for me. Another thing as well are various therapists that are on YouTube that publish weekly videos that you may not necessarily get personalized advice that you would get from a therapist that you're seeing once a week, once every couple weeks. But you can get a surprising amount of great practical advice that you can apply to your life. And our music community has been absolutely devastated on account of COVID, where many of us may not necessarily have $300, $400 a month to spend on a therapist, but there are free videos from trained professionals that you can access on YouTube. And I've also found great comfort in meditation. And there are a lot of really great meditation apps. I use Headspace, and Headspace, it takes 10 minutes a day. And I think it's, with Black Friday coming up, there'll probably be some great deals, in the next month or so. You might want to keep an eye on, but it costs, I think, less than a Netflix membership. And you can do various programs. It only takes 10, 15, 20 minutes a day. And actually, this is a book called Mindfulness, an 8-week plan for finding peace in a frantic world, that I've also been reading that's been helpful. And from a fitness perspective, excuse me, on TV, you see this, the fancy exercise bike, the Peloton bike, that, is all over television. But I did some digging because I couldn't afford a multi-$1,000 spinning bike. But Peloton is like a Netflix for in-home fitness. And again, it's about $12 a month, and you can get streamed yoga, spinning, like a variety of different workouts that you can stream straight to your phone, because having some sort of daily fitness practice has been so valuable to me as well. And then I guess, I've also done the social media diet. I have really limited my exposure on social media to just really using it to connect with other people, to check in with other people in the community, see how they're doing, really limiting my exposure to anything that's, hypercharged. And there is actually a documentary that was recently released on Netflix called The Social Dilemma that I would recommend people watch, because it actually talks about how social media A lot of these social media platforms are designed to stimulate us with bad news and to get our emotions boiling. So I'd recommend that. But I would kind of say that one of the other things that I've if I could pass along is just to mention this idea of impermanence. This has been a real game changer for me, is to know that things are always changing, and there will eventually be a time when our COVID life will not be here anymore. We will be back playing music again. When that happens, I have no idea. I can't control that. But I also know that, the days where I don't feel so good, that's not going to be permanent either. So I can tap into my breathing. I can tap into my meditation, and I can exercise self-compassion to say, the situation I'm in isn't necessarily my fault, but I can be good to myself today and know that I'm not going to necessarily, the way I maybe feel today, I may not necessarily feel that way tomorrow. And that's a good thing. That's a little victory I can celebrate in this new reality that we're all living in. But though that's kind of, my insights is how I've been able to navigate this new world that we're living in, and how I feel that I've certainly been able to manage it far better than I thought I could have, 6 months ago, 3 months ago, or a year ago.
Thank you so much, Dan.
Welcome.
Yes, invaluable contributions. So lots of free resources for us there, and very useful ones. And I just want to pick up on your idea about control, what things I can control and what I can't control. That's critical, I think, for dealing with these times. And there are 2 different PDFs included with this webinar on that subject that you can download and use later to help you work out for yourself, what can I control, what can I can't, where should I put my energy? Mm-hmm. So thank you very much.
You're welcome.
And we will now go to our next speaker, who is Dr. Chong. John Chong is the medical director of the Musicians Clinics of Canada, and he is also an accomplished musician. Dr. Chong.
Great. Thanks very much, Pam. Dan, you're amazing. I looked you up on social media and very impressed, like all the other speakers. So I'm going to go to share screen and run through some data, just to give us some background evidence about mental health. So that's who I am. The clinic is in Hamilton, home base. We also have a satellite clinic in Toronto. We've been around probably far too long. 1986 is when the Musicians Union asked us to start it, when I was at McMaster. And we've been dealing with all these health problems of musicians all these years. Background, there is an international organization called PAMA, Performing Arts Medicine Association, which I have been with right from its inception, and it's a multidisciplinary group. I'd urge you to go to its website, artsmed.org, where there's a gold mine of resources that are relevant to today's topic. Specifically, there's a COVID task force, which you can have a look at all the links that we put together and join in and collaborating right across the world. So I'm going to mostly stick to data and not too much about practical things, because our esteemed panel have way more reality to share with you. One bit of sad news: before COVID hit, this is what the average musician earned in Canada. This 2015 data, just below 16,000. So if some bright group wants to survey what's going on now, it's probably pretty dismal. Mm-hmm. The background to this field is, of course, injury. And this is a summary slide of a big study of orchestra musicians from Australia. Headlines: 84% lifetime prevalence of injury and 50-50 chance of playing hurt. So it's the equivalent to playing football or some contact sport. those are the risk factors. As you know, every day we lose a very wonderful, famous musician. So this is a study of 13,000 rock stars and their average age of death compared to the US life expectancy. And across the bottom of the slide, you can see the type of popular music. So we're talking about blues and jazz. So that's quite different than rap and hip hop, if you can go across from left to right. The causes of death are quite different depending on the genre of music as well. So in blues and jazz, we tend to grow old and have chronic disease issues like heart disease and cancer. Whereas in the rap hip hop group, there's a lot more accidental death, overdoses, and violence. Here's a study from Great Britain, the Musicians Union there, and punchline is musicians may be up to 3 times more likely to suffer from anxiety and depression compared to the general public. And the reasons for that are stated below, mostly about adversity in the music industry. This is a very big study, 3,000 workers in the entertainment industry from Australia, very comprehensive, including workers who are in the administration as well as in the technical area. Punchline there is that we do it. Why do we do it? Because we love it. But there's a negative culture in the industry, which, as you well know from personal experience as well as publicity now, has come to the headlines. So there's no surprise there's a high level of mental health problems and suicidality in our industry. First issue Pam touched on very elegantly about sleep issues, very common and troubling, very difficult industry to get good sleep. The primary diagnoses in this group is depression, anxiety, and very high prevalence, 10 times that of the general population for anxiety and 5 times higher rates of depression. And very much lack of resources, which Dan was very resourceful in outlining. Suicidality, you probably know deep down in your hearts of losing a close colleague or a close friend in this area. And this is very troubling. 9 times greater ideation and planning is very high, and successful suicides are very, very tragic. Substance use is huge. Alcohol is the big one. I have my drink here just for you. By the way, there's no alcohol in it, but that's one of the hazards. Coke has been a big problem, as we all know. And of course, the opioid crisis is just taking lives right across our industry. And again, lack of resources, as Pam will allude to, as well as the future speakers. So what's behind this? We've been looking at this in the clinic. We've been very busy during COVID analyzing our data. We have a captured audience of 200 patients in 2019. So we decided to have a look and see what are some of the underlying risk factors. One of the big ones is the adverse childhood experiences, or I call them ACEs, which are potentially traumatic events that occur in childhood. And those include various exposures to abuse, violence, mental health issues, substances, and separation. So there's our data from the clinic. In dark blue, dark maple leaf blue, is the general population, and us musicians are the light blue. And you can see the across from 0 ACEs, which is, you are very lucky, we are less than. But if we go to high numbers, prevalence of ACEs, 4+, you can see a bit higher than, much higher than the general population rates. So basically, it's a traumatized population that comes to the clinic. And how do ACEs relate to the outcomes? It explains high variability in their stress scores, in their depression, anxiety, stress scores, their anxiety scores, sleep disruption, and to a lesser extent, pain intensity. Interestingly, it does not seem to explain the variance in pain interference nor depression. But that's again limited to the current patient population in the clinic. So big deal. So what? Well, coming from the big ACE study in the United States, funded by the NIH, it affects life from conception and all the way to death. So it does explain the high morbidity and mortality in our community. And you can see the wide range of health outcomes, not just death, but all types of mishaps throughout life. And this is being tracked right across the United States. And of course, now we throw COVID into the mix, and you can imagine the future repercussions, not only mental health issues. So this is what we do in the clinic. We have 12-tone tune-up targets, starting at A, awareness, anxiety, boundaries, cognition, control, depression, dependence, exercise, fatigue, focus, goals, and then you might graduate. So that's how I put it into a 12-step acronym just for convenience. And if COVID wasn't here, patients do come in and have very long and deep sessions face-to-face. Now we're kind of side railed like everybody else. The goals are the A, B, C, D, E, F, G. As we've talking about, you hear lots of stories from our panel of how everybody is coping. Dan started us off very well, as Pam did. And here are some of the gadgetry we have in the clinic. Some are available directly, such as the neurofeedback. I have my Muse right here and plunk it on. I also have a brain stimulator by the pianos. I would not advise doing acupuncture on yourself, but Pam did mention CBD, which is enormously helpful. You can get it at the Ontario Cannabis Store, or if your doctor is progressive and can prescribe it for you, so much better. There's also heart rate variability gadgets from HeartMath, all kinds of interesting self-help tools we can use. So in summary, we do have a monkey lab that rolls around, can go off and measure muscle issues and performance, but again, that's kind of sitting in the clinic because of COVID right now. So thanks very much, and later on, I'll entertain some questions along with the rest of the gang. Thanks very much.
Thank you so much, John, for that presentation, giving us a very solid background in the mental health issues affecting musicians in general, which, as you say, are now amped up with with COVID in the background. And also to provide all of our viewers with what resources are available through the clinic. And now my understanding is that it's just via online sessions now.
So that's all we can do at this time. So it's tough on screen time, I tell you.
It's more everything's more difficult, but thank goodness there's resources people can connect with. Yeah, thanks so much for that. And now we will go to our third speaker, Dawn Tyler Watson, who is a Montreal-based, multiple award-winning entertainer. Her story appears in the book that Huma mentioned, Blues Therapy, a book written by Anita Schenk and Tab Benoit about mental health issues in the blues community. Copies are available through TBS at some point, and there will be a couple copies given away tonight. So without further ado, please help me welcome Dawn Tyler Watson.
The crowd goes wild. Hey, everybody. This is so awesome to be here with you all. And I want to thank the Toronto Blues Society and Lucy and Pam and Huma for inviting me to share on this panel. You know, my journey's been a pretty a long one, and I was trying to look at as far as mental health goes. Starting as a kid, for me, I suffered from depression. First of all, I had ADHD, ADD as a kid, and my parents at the time didn't know what to do with that, you know. But I remember trying to be counseled as a young child, not being able to focus in school, stuff like that. Counselors trying to speak to me. I had no vernacular. I had no words to be able to express how I was feeling about things. You know, and I found that my solution to how I felt as a young teen, I started getting more and more depressed. I never felt comfortable in my skin. Music was always there, but it wasn't a big part of my life. I went to a music school from a grade 5 to grade 8. And then high school, I found what I thought was the solution to how I felt on the inside. And I want to preface this with, I have this thing in me that was not so much anymore, actually, because I've done a lot of work on it now. But, you know, was always comparing my insides with everyone else's outsides and thinking everyone else had it together, or, you know, knew what they were doing, and I didn't. So I had very bad low self-esteem, coupled with what I learned, ADD and a slight learning disability. Came from a home where there was a lot of frustration. My parents were, you know, quite frustrated. There was violence in my home. So I took off, and when I found what worked for me, it was drugs and alcohol. And so I became addicted at a really young age. And I chased that as my solution to deal with what was going on inside my head. And fast forward, I mean, that just took me on a downward spiral from early in life. From the very beginning, I was kind of like, you know, I didn't care about anything else. I didn't think anyone cared about me. And I think that when it comes to alcohol and drugs, there is a lot of, it's been said that addiction is a slow suicide. And there were times as a teenager where I actually did try to commit suicide because I had so many demons in my head. Fast forward to around the age of 29, and I had been accepted into a university to study here in Montreal, and my drinking and using had grown. I tried to control it, but at some point I had realized that I had no control over my drugs and alcohol use. And I was fortunate enough to end up in, to find a rehab. And I got sober just around the same time as my professional career started. And as many of us musicians know, alcohol and drugs are all over in the music industry, and a lot in the blues industry. And thank you so much, John. I learned so much from your presentation. It always is amazing to see how artists, as we are artists, have been told possibly that it's a, you know, it's a sacred thing to have talent. To me, it's a real burden to carry, especially for myself. When I first was told that I was talented and I got accepted into university here in Montreal, it was the first time I actually felt some hope about being able to get to become a professional artist, to be able to put the drugs and drinking behind me, because by this point, and I came here in just a couple years before I got sober, I realized that my drinking and drugging was really ruining my life, and I had become suicidal again. And so one of the things that really stopped me in my tracks was that I realized I was killing my voice, and I had so much guilt and shame around the thing I loved the most to do, that I knew now that I had some talent, because I had people coming up to me at concerts, at school recitals, and you know, I have one expression, one time when this one woman came up to me with tears in her eyes and looked at me and she said, "You're an angel." And that very same day, I had to go and knock back drinks to be able just to get on stage, because I had been doing cocaine all day for this concert. And the shame and guilt that I felt was it was eating me alive. And by grace, I think something happened. I came to a point where I was able to see, okay, I surrender. I'm not able to do this anymore. I'm going to get help. And I ended up in rehab. And since then, for me, my journey in mental health has been, fast forward to today, first of all, staying away from drugs and alcohol, which is easier said than done, but I needed a lot of help. And I found a lot of tools in rehab. I'm still sober today, and I don't drink and I don't drug, and that's good for me. What I found with this pandemic, and with anyone who's ever tried to quit drinking, if you've ever had a problem with alcohol, first of all, it's not, the problem isn't, for me, in my understanding, it's not the drugs or the alcohol, it's the living without the drugs and the alcohol. So when I took that away, I had to learn how to live a life with my feelings, with my low self-esteem. I had to learn to build all that. I had to accept help from other people, and I was able to grow and develop and continue in my career. And still today, I still reach out for help. I still do therapy. I stay in touch with other people. I do a lot of volunteer work with other. I've worked with teens who have drug and alcohol addiction problems. I try to help others. I'm pretty open about my situation because I know there's a lot of people who need help out there. How I've been dealing with this pandemic, I mean, if you fast forward to today, the things that help me are things that were already discussed. What I found for me, when as a touring artist and busy, going all over, traveling, and a big 7-piece band, and we're not a lot of time to stop, all of a sudden stopped. I don't know if Sean and Dan found this too. Faced with myself, I live alone with a dog, thank God I have her, and faced with myself and my own thoughts with a hell of a lot of time on my hands. So first of all, for me, that was a big challenge. And one of the first things I turned to was baking and eating a little bit more. And I can cook now. I can't order out anymore because all the restaurants were closed. So I started doing that. And as my sugar addiction now started to creep up, and I was baking, and I'd make like banana bread and then give half to my neighbors and then like eat the other half like in a day. I realized that wasn't healthy. It's been a real journey for me. Today, I'm really happy to say the last month or so, I've been able to start taking way better care of myself. It's been slow because at the beginning it was like, I was cooking, baking, which is great, watching a lot of Netflix. It's like a forced vacation, bonding with my home, which I really wasn't here a lot because I was touring so much. And then I started to say, people are like, oh, you write a new album now that you're off? And I personally, with what was going on, I don't know about you guys, but I was like a bit depressed about all this. I didn't feel creative. And you know what? That's okay. I love what Dan was saying about self-care and about self-acceptance. Living alone, especially, as I said, is a little difficult. I do this every day and I give myself a hug. And there's no shame in that. I try to be gentle with myself. I try to set goals, and I also don't try to be too hard on myself with the house being perfectly clean. If you saw my desk, you know what I mean. But I feel that with time now, my daily routine, there is a lot. The last 2 years I started meditating as well with an app, and I use the Calm app. I also checked out Headspace. There's a lot of stuff out there. There's a lot of things on YouTube. And 3 years ago, 2016 November, actually 4 years ago, I had heart surgery, and I discovered meditations on YouTube, healing affirmations on YouTube. And for me, someone who always had negative thoughts in my head about how no good I was or how crappy things were going to be, or all this negative stuff, there are so many things on YouTube right now that tell you positive things. And and I'll wrap it up with this. One of the things I remembered learning was that whatever I go to sleep with in my head, it's like taking a chicken and marinating it in onions and, sauce, and you put on all your spices and you put it in the fridge for 8 hours and it absorbs those flavors. I think of my brain that way. And if I go to bed after watching, Pam, you said this, screens, watching what Trump was doing today, watching what was, what's going on with the Black Lives and the guns and the right wingers and the, all this darkness. Or it could be the horror movies. Somebody else talked about horror movies, Sean, earlier, about like they're showing them free now. Why put all those dark images in my mind, especially before I go to bed? I try to put on a positive tape affirmation, and it calms my mind. And I did this when I had heart surgery, about healing my body. My body is healing, and visualizations of healing light through my body. The mind is a really powerful tool. So now I'm happy to say I'm dancing every day for about a month. I've been doing these online dance classes, so the creativity is there. They're very open, free dances. I'm getting out and I'm walking. There's an app on my phone, 8,000 steps a day. I have a dog, so I can take her for walks. She doesn't like to go too long, but I get out and I've started moving. Cooking better. I gave up sugar. It's been like 7 weeks, which was huge for me. And as Pam was talking about coffee, I was like, this is the next thing, because it's 7 and I'm still having a coffee here, wondering why my heart is beating a little harder than it should. And for me, faith and positive attitude that things are going to get better. This too shall pass. It's so important for me to believe that. And I believe that everything happens for a reason, even the crappy stuff. We might not understand it. And if I spend all my mind trying to figure out, all my energy trying to figure out why something's happening, instead of just accepting it and doing what I can do in today for myself and for others, to try to help others, to try to just breathe through it, taking deep breaths, awesome stuff. Doing yoga, awesome. So that's it. I try to live it one day at a time. I have some faith and that things are going to be okay. And I hope I didn't talk too long. And thanks so much for asking me, guys.
Oh, thank you so much, Dawn. I think you talked just exactly the right amount. You're a powerful example for all of us, and I really appreciate all of what you shared. It can be a very vulnerable thing to just tell the truth about yourself, and you did that so beautifully. And then to tell us what things are really helping. And when I was listening to you, I heard you talk about how you were having a bit of a harder time at the beginning, and then somewhere along the way, you kind of pulled things together and figured things out that are working, and you're feeling a lot more positive. And I just want to add to that this kind of pattern varies widely from person to person. And some people come out gangbusters, when this thing first hit, doing everything and having a great time. And then somewhere around the 6-month mark, plummet into struggling with issues and having to find ways to pull it up from there. So, and we're all different, but we're all probably going to hit a wall at some point in this thing. So, there's no shame in it for anybody. It's a normal to react in this way to the thing that we're coping with right now. And those resources that are being offered tonight by all of our speakers are incredibly helpful. Thanks again, Dawn. And now let's move on to our fourth speaker. Our fourth speaker is from Toronto, Juno nominee slide guitar hero, Sean Pinchin.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. Yeah, I'll just continue with what you're saying there about the slump, because like personally for me, I was like kind of okay with like a little lockdown for a little bit. I think I was built for it. My lifestyle is very isolated anyways. Like I'm kind of an introvert. So I think I'm one in a million that was like, hey, everything's closing down. Everything's closing down. I guess I'm going to buy some extra hummus. Like I was really good for about a month. And then I hit a wall. I hit that wall real bad because like the thin veil of purpose that I have, much like the thinning veil of hair, it is very thin. And when it was gone, it was like, what am I doing? So I can kind of continue there in a little bit, but I think I want to go back to Dr. Chong, because I think I just realized that my longest relationship in life is with the Musicians Clinic of Canada. Because previous to this moment, I thought it was my cell phone number, which I've had since the beginning when I was about 21, 22, maybe 23. But I'm pretty sure I was visiting the Musicians Clinic Canada when I was about 19 or 20. I'm 39 now. So let's just say that I've been going to Dr. Chong for about 20-ish years. So there's like a nice book about me there. And I have suffered from everything on his list: nerve compression. I have a bad back. I have terrible posture. I literally just finished a coffee and I'm having a beer. Like rock and roll, right? So like, I don't smoke cigarettes anymore, but I do use cannabis both recreationally and medically. CBD has been the most outstanding thing. It's helped everyone in my family, and I come from a very not drinky, druggy family. Like I stand out in my family amongst the pack. But my father in his mid 70s now, or we'll call it early 70s for you, Dad, if you're watching. His knees are really bad because he took really good care of himself and then hurt his knees. So to me, the whole psychology of running every day and blowing your knee, it's the same as not running every day and not having the ability to walk. So I'm trying to find that balance within myself because I'm really lazy. I don't like gyms. I personally don't like the smell of other people sweating. There's things about the whole getting in shape and doing thing that to me, I crawl within myself, and it's like cover music gigs. I'm like, man, this doesn't work. So the reason I got involved with the Musicians Clinic was because I've been like this since I was a teenager, and I got a lot of pain in my hands. But I can honestly say that through the treatments that Dr. Chong has given me, through some prescribed and some just like theoretical, like just thinking about things, I've been able to like never stop playing. You know, I have 7 records. I play obsessively every day. Like, this is one of my coping mechanisms right here. This thing was made in 1934. This is old. Like, this is older than my father. So like, this survived World War II. So, you know, an old atrocity right now. So one of the many things that I do, not to talk about like marijuana and coffee and beer and sleeping, because like, I've never really been good at that, but I've always really liked being able to sleep 6 hours and then get up for 5 and then sleep for 2. And then I kind of think I'm a cat. And I think that if I could be this kitty for the rest of my life, I'll live a very long time. People will be astounded by it. I'll be like, starting to sound like Trump right here, so forgive me, but like, nobody's ever lived this long. But so my coping mechanisms lately have been like focusing on the positives of what I do. So without purpose, no gig, no source of income, a little bit of government support here and there, but what am I playing for? All of a sudden I realized that I can erase 95% of the tunes that I sang from necessity. Scared or not, none of those gigs seem to be coming back. So maybe this is a turning point in my career. Just one of the little, this could be a lie. I mean, obviously I'm going to play those birthday parties as much as I can when I get out of this hole, but like, I really think maybe this is a time for me to distinguish a little difference in myself. So one thing I did is I put down all these finger picks that I've been using for 20 years. And I picked up a flat pick, which is hard for a guy like me. And then I wrote some folk songs that had nothing to do with blues. And they were like funny stomping Tom Connors kind of songs. And it ended up without trying to write an album, because I don't feel inspired ever, really. I usually write an album when I can afford it as I'm going. Truth be told, folks, there's really no plan ever on anything. But now I've got about 25 songs that are some fun, some serious, some are kind of dark, but none of them felt restricted. And I think there's a little bit to, like, everybody has a craft in the music industry. So why aren't we using that to save us? I mean, think about what blues represents. This isn't the worst thing that's ever happened to a blues player. This might be one of the best times for you as a player to increase your chops, get better. My calluses on my finger have never been better. I mean, I get pain all the time. Dr. Chong is absolutely right. 50% chance you're going to play with an injury half the time. I've been injured since I was 17 years old, and I started seeing him probably early 20s. And I have never needed to stop, but I've had inflammation up until about a week ago. My middle finger on this hand, you know why, was not very happy. It didn't like plucking the strings. But today and all week, it's felt great because I never stop. I always work. And there's a thing about, like, again, focusing on the positives. When you're playing, don't play so damn hard. Don't sing so damn loud. Hit the note properly. Focus on the tone. not the technique, and then focus on the technique once you get the tone. And it's like those two things can throw you in a whirlwind of like a bit of self-judgment, but it's okay to like be like, hey, I need to get better now. YouTube's out there for free. I mean, has anyone ever heard of like Tommy Emmanuel? Like everything Doyle Bramhall's ever done's out there. Like you literally have free research. And that instantly turned to like an obsession with a Ken Burns documentary about country music, which made me kind of love history a little more. And then fast forward a year, and now I watch documentaries on just about anything I can get. I just got a flash about one being released right now. I watch documentaries on anything. One's about whale poop. Anything. There's so much stuff out there you can learn about. Netflix is just giving you great things. If you can't understand public relations now and you're stressed out about what's happening with the heat and the temperature outside and the social revolution that's happening, I think we're right back in 1963 where like we're having this revolution again within the arts because shit's not working. And I think it's time for us to take that extra step. Everything that happened in the 60s with the early, you know, like with the folk boom after, because folk music comes from communism. You know what I mean? It was banned for a while. Like there's all these great things you can learn about. Everything struggle. This struggle might not be quite as desperate if we can survive it. Like if you don't get sick and you miss all your birthday parties and you don't go Christmas shopping, and maybe we throw away Western culture 5% just with some of that hokiness, and we all just chill and hang out with our loved ones and then get out of those situations. I had to move out of an apartment where the situation wasn't healthy with the family living there because people were separating, the kids were not like in a good place. There was a vicious dog. I had to move during COVID and find a place, and I'm now with my partner. We have a great time. I have a cat that's awesome. That's how I know I am one. But that's a whole other thing. But I've never like felt that adversity has ever done anything but helped you prove yourself. So I would say that if you can get up every day and feel the struggle and feel a little bit of intimidation about it, like what's going on, I'm under the weight of all this stuff, then that's all opportunity. If you wake up every day kind of happy that this is happening, like I was in the first month, I think that's the worst place to be. I think that if you're not happy, you have a 50% more like chance of helping humanity be better than it is. Because if we don't get better, this is all for nothing. I mean, my lifetime might be something we can get through, but what about your kids' lifetimes? And we're doing this for kids. That's why we're at home right now. I mean, it's appalling to hear about trick-or-treating being such a big deal. I mean, like really, just buy the best chocolate at home. I mean, family of diabetics, I'm telling you right there. So I don't know. Find your passion, tweak it, and work really hard at it. But pay attention to your body. Don't let your neck hurt while you're playing. Lie down on the floor, grab a ball, get the Dr. Ho. Persian cats are a lot of fun. They wheeze a lot, so you feel like you can compete with their agility. There's all sorts of things, yeah. And Dr. Chong, what do you think? Longest relationship ever. That's all I can say. Is that 10 minutes?
Yeah, that was awesome. Sean, I love you. I love you, Sean. So, you know, I love what Sean was saying about looking for opportunity in adversity. And we can do that in all different ways. And he's given us quite a few ways he's doing it. And I think it's important to look for ways that you can find some kind of opportunity, something new to learn, something to discover, or even just taking time to spend with your family you don't normally have, or, you know, just kind of taking the time to evaluate your life, where you're at, and how you want things to go after this. We don't often have this amount of time to think about those things. So it's a good way to look at this. It's an opportunity. It's a chance, right? Get more of what we want. I love that expression, thin veil of purpose, too. Ooh, I'm going to be meditating on that one. Yeah. Thank you so much. You know, we have a variety of speakers and we're getting a variety of input on this topic so that we get kind of a whole comprehensive look at it from many different angles. Our final speaker tonight is Sarah Hagerman. Sarah's the Industry and Events Manager at Unison Benevolent Fund. And she's also a musician and an active supporter of mental health and the arts. And Sarah is going to be talking about what Unison can provide and how you can access those resources. So, Sarah,
well,
enlighten us.
Hear me okay? Is everything
Yes.
good? Okay, perfect. So thanks so much, Toronto Blues Society, first of all, for having me just jump on here and talk about Unison, because it is another resource in addition to all the amazing things you guys were all talking about. And just following along with the webinar quickly before I say anything, it's just like, there's things I've been relating to, there's things I could apply tomorrow. So thanks everybody. So I'll jump into what Unison is. If you don't know what Unison is, I definitely encourage you to write it down, because it'll be a great tool for you to check out after the session. So Unison is an assistance program. It's created and administered for the music community by the music community, and it's designed to provide discrete relief services to music industry professionals in times of crisis and hardship. So, and that is through our two main services, which is our emergency financial assistance and our counseling services. So when I mean we're for the music community, it means our services are for musicians, songwriters, whatever your role is in the music industry. We do have some credentials that are listed on our website, but really it's if you are contributing to the music industry, you qualify for Unison. So stuff that is included in Unison services are not limited to, but some I can list are like mental health support, tackling addiction, substance use, dental emergencies, medical emergencies, living expenses, like including rents and groceries and utilities. So I'll kind of just separate the two briefly between the financial assistance and the counseling. So Unison's counseling services offers a toll-free number to connect Canadian music professionals with resources and support for personal and practical issues. So it's free, it's anonymous, and it's confidential, available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So basically, it's sponsored by Unison, it's provided by Morneau Chappelle, the counseling services. And all you have to do to access it is register at unisonfund.ca, which is totally free. We don't ask you for any money at any point. We don't ask for money back. So you basically, you can access, once you register, you can call the hotline and you get immediate access to a counselor. So from there, they kind of determine what your situation is and if you're in an emergency or not, if you need assistance right that minute, or if you can kind of build a case study or a case with a file with a counselor and get you the proper resources that you need. So that's kind of a brief overview of the counseling services, but we also just recently launched that I'd love to mention is something that Unison just partnered with Morneau Chappelle with is called LifeWorks. So it can support you and your dependents with almost any issue related to health, work, family, money, fitness, anything kind of in between. And you can speak confidentially to one of their trained consultants. And they have the experience to offer support strategies for work and life issues. And there's also, so basically you can access LifeWorks through an app or on your browser, your web browser as well. And it's completely free for Unison members. And it's really, really awesome. I've personally been using this tool a lot since it's been launched with Unison, because it has a lot of self-help tools on it. So you can do like guided self-assessments that give you results in like blog posts that they've created or resource lists that they have on their app. So they give you suggested material. And then of course you can go through the app and navigate it all yourself, which is really good if people who don't want to necessarily call the hotline and maybe you're feeling a little nervous. You can use these self-help tools. So definitely check out those programs on unisonfund.ca. And secondly, our financial assistance program. And as you guys can imagine, I'm sure you can imagine, is it's been a huge increase for Unison to be providing financial assistance during these times since COVID sort of hit, because there is no safety net for the music industry. And Unison's trying to be that safety net, essentially. So basically, for the financial assistance program, the application starts when you contact the Unison office at assistance@unisonfund.ca. and you're eligible to receive short-term financial assistance in case you or a family are experiencing a crisis situation. So for many of that's loss of income, or you're unable to work. So see if you qualify. The application process for our COVID-19 emergency relief program is very accessible. So we only ask for very basic info and what your involvement is in the music industry, and you can receive $1,000, and then you can reapply after 60 days. And just please keep in mind, for this financial assistance, it's ever changing. So everything's dependent on donations coming in, right? So donations have recently slowed down, which means we've had to kind of cut this financial assistance to reapplying every 60 days. So stay hopeful and stay connected with Unison, because we are constantly updating what's going on and being as transparent as possible for what we can provide for assistance. So yeah, that's kind of the rundown of the main programs, the counseling and financial assistance. If you guys have anyone has any questions, you can find my contact on the website. You can reach out to our info account. I'll stick around for the Q&A as well. So other tools you can access through Unison. I know there's more, but we do try to keep updated on the Unison website. So helpful blog posts, every Self-Care Sunday posts, industry connections we have listed on our website, and so much more. Insurance partners that we have listed on our website. And lastly, before I stop talking, I just want to mention our donations, obviously. So if anyone is able to donate, or if you know someone who is a lover of music, it wants to support the Canadian music industry, maybe they're a family member, maybe they're a friend, you can any donation counts. It goes right to our main services there, and you can go on our website and click support us. You can even text Unison to 45678 and donate $5, $10, $15. We also have a GoFundMe campaign up right now, which we're actually getting Slate Music to match each donation that's coming in. So if you feel like, oh, I can't give much, well, your donation will be matched too. So just help spread the word, and because it is ultimately for you, right? So, but that's all I'll say. And thank you so much for allowing me to jump on here and speak. And I'll stick around for the Q&A if anyone has questions. But thank you all. It's been amazing.
Oh, thank you so much, Sarah. I learned a lot in your brief 5 minutes. A lot of things I didn't know, and very helpful and uplifting things. Okay. So I really appreciate that. And I have 2 questions right off the bat, if I could start the Q&A. My first question is, is Unison entirely reliant on donations from private donors, or is there any government funding involved?
There's no government funding involved, so it is all private donations. Obviously, we're always fighting towards gaining the recognition with funding bodies and getting funding, but we don't have any government assistance. It's all funded through the industry itself, and we're finally actually starting to reach the music fans, because we're a very new organization. It's only been since 2011. Unison was birthed. So it's been a very gradual increase in awareness across Canada. So the music fans are starting to contribute now, because they recognize that the music industry doesn't have a safety net, and they're starting to be more aware of why we're here, basically. So yes, it is completely funded by donations. So, and that's been ever changing because of COVID-19. At the beginning, we were very fortunate to receive a lot of recognition in places that we didn't expect to, and received lots of money. We've given out over $1 million since March, and over half of what, so, and then if the rate kind of continues the way it's going with the amount of donations we're receiving, we might have to actually go into our endowment fund, which is something that's okay, but it just shows that we're relying on the donations, right? So it is ever changing. it's constantly going through waves. So, but we just want people to know that the services are there so they can access them.
Okay, thank you. And the second question is, if somebody calls for counseling and it's not an emergency, what's the average wait time for them to actually get connected with the service provider?
So to be connected with a counseling session, officially, it can take less than 2 weeks. So sometimes it varies. With Morneau Chappelle, I'm sure they're receiving lots of calls from all different kinds of industries. And so yeah, it's less than 2 weeks people get on the phone with a counselor. So it's quite quick, but like I said, if you call in an emergency situation, then you will get connected with assistance immediately.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. That's very, very helpful. Okay, now we will open up our session to question and answer period. And do we have some questions from our audience? How do I access these? Ah, okay. Dan, I think you have some questions that came in to you.
Oh, really?
Yeah, are you able to, do you have those on hand that we can address as a team?
Let me see. I may. Let's see.
Does anybody else on the panel have a question for anybody else while we're waiting?
I have a quick question for Sarah. Sarah, right?
Yeah.
Where my thing go? Thanks. Yeah. So this is it's not just Ontario. Is it Canada-wide Unison? Is it available to all musicians in all provinces, or is it just Ontario?
Yeah, it's all across Canada, and it's also for Canadians working abroad too. So if you're stuck somewhere or you're overseas somewhere outside of Canada, we'll also help you.
Thank you. Great.
Fantastic. Any other questions from the panel? Ah, here we are. Got a question. Okay, how do you manage the unstructured time? Sometimes days feel like they stretch on forever. Anybody want to answer how they manage that?
I could go in. I mean, I remember it was 2015. I left Long and McQuaid. No, shoot, it was 2013. I'm sorry. I'd made the album Rust Bucket, and I'd left my full-time job to do music, and I was like, yes. And I got a Maple Blues nomination, just fizzled out, but it was great, and that was like, I'm on the right move. And then the next record I made was 3 years later. So from 2013 to 2016, I had like a huge lull and wrote an album, but the album was titled Monkey Brain because I was literally losing my brain, and Dr. Chong was helping me. So the whole idea of that 3-year goal meant my whole life was to get time off, and then all of a sudden I had all the time in the world, and I didn't know how to manage it right out of the gates. So my point is, try to find sections of the day where you can give yourself some sort of parameter. Be like, what I'd like to do is in the morning, if there's dishes, I do dishes while I make coffee. Then I check the news. CP24 is a bit addictive. You got to give in. And then maybe I'll play a little guitar and stuff. And if at that point I'm feeling super excited about anything, I plan the next motion as either something that's going to be really productive or something I'm not going to punish myself for not doing. And often that'll be a nap between laundry. So sometimes if you pair a chore, even if it's just sweeping, not doing everything all in the same day, spread it out over the week. Laundry today, kitchen tomorrow, bathroom the next day. Between your mundane moments, I know they say clean house, clean feelings. And coming from a guy like me, that's like the strangest cliche to use. But it really does help to like, I get up every day and I like to clean dishes, and I'll I'll sit outside for a minute and watch people go to work and realize, God, I'm so happy I don't have to do that. Little things like that, you know. So give yourself little rewards and try to like shorten the day in your own parameter. If feels like a 3,000 year long day, give yourself half an hour moments of, you know, Melba toast with some cheese, and then like do something, have a coffee, and enjoy it. You know, whatever it is, you got to learn to stop beating yourself up, because you're not helping anyone by being upset, you know.
Absolutely. I follow similar philosophy myself. You know, just try to alternate the activities and not make the day kind of whole day of humdrum, mundane things is deadly.
No.
So, you know, something fun, something you have to do, something fun.
Sweep on Monday, you Swiffer on Tuesday. You see me? You let it build up a little bit, or it's not worth it.
Okay, another question. Sarah, does Unison also provide relief to music studying students or even sound technicians?
Yes, so sound techs, you qualify. If you're a student, it does get a little tricky, only because if I just remember correctly, the qualifications for the Unison services, which again are kind of more lenient right now because of COVID-19, but you have to have been primarily working in the music industry for 2 years. So if you've been in the music industry for 2 years and it's been your primary source of income and primary source of work, then you qualify. But if you're in a situation where you're contributing to the music industry, it doesn't hurt to just reach out, right? And say, this is your situation and we'll see what we can do. But you must be working in the industry for 2 years and it be your primary work.
Okay, great, thanks. Question for Dr. Chong. Are services from the Musicians Clinic of Canada available only to Ontario musicians, or can musicians from across Canada access them, especially with them being virtual appointments now?
Right. So currently, the way healthcare is administered is through the province. So there's what's called reciprocity between provinces across Canada. Only those provinces that have bought into the Canada Health Act, going way back to 1984. So that's basically everybody except Quebec, because Quebec still refuses to join for whatever their reasons. It's too stressful and complicated. So basically we bill OHIP, it's tossed back to BC or Newfoundland, wherever that particular person has their health card. So basically your health card is good.
Okay. And are you, John, aware of any other comparable clinics anywhere else in Canada? I mean, maybe not comparable, but doing a similar kind of work?
Oh, Pam is working hard on that. There have been some sports clinics that have accepted performing artists, and for the musculoskeletal injuries, many mental health professionals are very interested in this field because of the need. So that's recent. They've taken the Essentials course through PAMA, which, by unmerciful plug, is starting up in November. Discount ends on Halloween. So if you want to learn more, it's a certificate program, and you get a broad range of heavyweight speakers, and there's a little test at the end. And if you're an arts educator or performer, we've streamed it that way, or a healthcare professional, we bent it to make it as accessible and useful right across the world. So that's another PAMA resource that's available.
Great, thank you very much.
Let's go to artsmed.org.
Okay, artsmed.org.
Yep.
Here's another question that's come in. Have any of you felt that you've lost part of your identity through this pandemic, especially to the live performers?
I could address that a little bit. I've certainly questioned it because you know, for me, I would say that if someone were to ask me, like, what's the one thing you do better than anything else? I would say it's play the guitar. It's why I feel, you know, I think for all of us here that are the artists on the panel, it's like, you know, playing music, and especially sharing your talent with others. It's like drinking. It's like needing to eat or sleep. Like, it's just, you just have to. You're compelled to do it. And when the opportunity to do that is taken away from you in such a rapid way, with no definitive means of knowing when it's going to come back and in what capacity and how it's going to look, and the expectations that come with that. Oh, it's absolutely, I would be lying if I said that I haven't questioned that. But some of the things that have just been helpful for me is realizing that just being a guitar, I'm more than just a guitar player. I'm a human being. I'm a friend. I'm a husband. I'm an uncle. I'm a cousin. All these other various things, and those define me just as much, if not more, than just playing guitar. So there's that aspect of it, and again, I would just have exercising that self-compassion of just knowing that I may feel that I may question my identity today as it relates to myself as a musician and how it could potentially look coming back. And it was already hard enough as a recording music artist on account of streaming, Spotify, and all that, and and how music has changed so much, and now with the pandemic adding another layer to that, it's certainly been hard, but just having that understanding that it's not going to be this way forever. And I think it was Donnie Walsh of Downchild just mentioned, it's like, how do you have a career that's so long as you just don't quit? And I think that, all of us it's in our DNA, we're going to figure it out in some sort of capacity, because, COVID is not the first challenge that we've all faced. And it's not the first roadblock that we faced as artists and as musicians. And I'm no doubt that we'll find a way to get through it in some sort of capacity.
Thanks. Dawn, I noticed you also raised your hand on that. Did you have something to add from your perspective?
I think Dan really summed it up beautifully. I definitely have had that, as an artist, my life and my art are so intertwined. And suddenly not performing was like, okay, who am I, But it is also a question that I've contemplated pre-COVID. As it is the thing, as I said, that gave me back my life, that gave me hope for, it's the thing that stopped me from going down a really, really dark path and destroying myself and a lot of people along at the same time. So it is the thing, loving to perform and singing was the thing that is like my light, and I've often contemplated, if I couldn't sing, who would I be? What would I do? And I've discovered through some soul searching and just that there are so many other aspects to myself, like Dan was saying, that there are, I'm actually studying right now. I'm doing a musician leadership program. I do workshops and clinics as well, and I teach. So there's always been that. So I'm taking this time now to start to learn something new, which is also one of the things I wanted to, take a class that maybe you have never, something you've always wanted to do, learn how to play the ukulele, for example. There's so many how-to things on YouTube that, you could pretty much learn anything. But yeah, like Dan said, focusing on this is the only thing I'm worthy for, this is my worth here, is my art and my career, and if that's taken away, who am I? It's a scary thing. So I've contemplated this before, and just to all the musicians out there, we're so much more, than just our performing selves or our music. So yeah, that's well said, Dan, and that's all I can say.
Thank you, Dawn. Yeah, I'm actually taking a university course from the University of Alberta on Indigenous Studies, and it's free. It's offered through Coursera. If anybody's interested in taking a free university course, they have paid ones as well, but there are several that are offered for free. And if you want to learn something, there's a resource for being able to do that. Let's see, we have time for maybe one more question. Oh, how about this one? Where do I draw the line between the need for social distancing and the need for human connection? Anybody want to tackle that?
Get a pet.
Get a pet.
As I said earlier, you know, it seems silly, but there you go. I saw he's adorable, Sean. He's got his cat. But, you know, I saw something also that Huma was on the slideshow before we started. There was some really helpful things there. And you know, just taking care of yourself, taking hot baths, taking care of yourself is important. But also, you know, I don't know where everyone is in the country, but certain areas you can have a bubble. You can have certain people in your life. Of course, take care of, you know, respecting people at risk. But yeah, you know.
Yes.
Yeah.
Those
Self-massage the hands.
Massage the hands, yes. Love yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Those PDFs that were circulating at the beginning, in case you joined later, they will be available to everybody as part of the resource package. And I would encourage everybody to download them and keep them as a reference so that, you know, if you choose to try out one of those things at any point, you have them on hand. One of them is called Self-Compassion Holds, and it's a 5-step process. And it just, you know, it starts like this. You put your 2 hands at the sides of your head, take in a deep breath, exhale, and then you move to the second position. Hand at the front, hand at the back, deep breath, hand on the heart. And there are 5 stages to this self-compassion hold. If you take a deep breath with each one, when you've completed one cycle, you already feel better, but you can repeat it as many times as you like. So there is a pictogram of that you can just follow along with it in the PDFs and many other useful pieces of information and resources. Okay, I would like to personally thank everybody for your participation tonight. It's been a really wonderful evening. I appreciate you all so much. And for everybody listening in, thanks for being here. And I'm going to turn it over to Huma to close us out for tonight. Huma?
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for this. It was really so useful for me personally. I'm pretty sure from the comments that I can see, you know, coming through Facebook and here, I think everybody really enjoyed it and it was really helpful, especially during these really challenging times, I think. So thank you again, and make sure to check out today's artists actually on social media as well as Unison and Musicians Clinics, which I circulated both on Facebook, and all the resources are now on Zoom and Facebook, so please make sure to check them out. And I just wanted to say we will be actually back this Friday for our live Pioneer Profile series featuring longtime Res Blues producer Elaine Bombery. So she will be in conversation with TBS co-founder Derek Andrews, and you can find all that info on our website as well as social media, so Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. So that was all, I think, and we hope you can join us. Otherwise, we all wish you a very good week.
All right.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
You. Bye, everyone.